Am I the antagonist for telling my ex-wife that she should be a more responsible co-parent and it wouldn't take the entirety of her day to send a few reminders and keep me involved? My ex-wife Natasha has primary custody of our 16-year-old daughter, Valerie. I have custody of Valerie for about 8 days every month. I care deeply about Valerie, but Natasha is extremely inconsiderate of me and makes it extremely difficult to co-parent. Natasha holds final decision on all of Valerie's medical and educational decisions. I fought extremely hard to retain that power, but Natasha holds them instead. When Natasha schedules an appointment for Valerie, she does not do enough to involve me and make sure I can get there. Natasha will never ask what times work for me and my schedule. She will send an appointment time over a month before the actual date as if I have superhuman memory and will be able to remember. The only reminder that she'll send me after that is the day before when I've already made plans. She never bothers texting me and only uses email or our family wizard when she knows I don't have time to check those every day. Valerie and I used to talk all the time, but now she's upset and distant. Just trying to talk with her now is like pulling teeth. I believe Natasha is purposely manipulating Valerie and trying to alienate my daughter from me by making it seem as if I'm not interested in her, which is extremely untrue. I am beyond interested in Valerie, even if she is in an angsty teen phase and is unappreciative of what I can do right now. Valerie was upset now because I was not reminded of her driving test until the day before and was unable to come. I contacted Natasha and told her that it is unacceptable to be this irresponsible of a co-parent to me. I told her the very least she can do is send me a weekly text reminder or some regular updates so I can stay in the loop and know what's going on. Natasha refused even a weekly update and said expecting her to be a decent co-parent makes me a lazy asshole. It's not as if a text would take the entirety of her day. I don't see how expecting Natasha to send a heads up every few days and make sure I'm involved with Valerie's things is unreasonable. Am I the antagonist? Edit, I own an old phone which a calendar app isn't an option on. I came here to look for input. I can do without the harassment. You people saying just to drop everything on a second's notice clearly have never lived in actual, real life. If Natasha is going to make these decisions, she should at least make an effort to ensure I'm involved. Edit, seriously? Facepalm award? YTA. I do appreciate that you made it super easy to figure out why you are divorced in this post. So your ex uses a central messaging system to facilitate communication and gives you over a month's notice typically when things get scheduled, as well as a reminder the day before. Do you think that you have zero obligation as a parent or just as an adult in general to keep a calendar? When your friend has a birthday or you are invited to a social or work event, how do you keep track of that? Do you not have any social interactions, ever, or do you somehow manage to keep track of events in your life? Your ex is your ex, not your wife or personal assistant. She is informing you very clearly and with plenty of notice when things are happening. It is up to you to keep your calendar, check messages about your child, and show up. You are losing your daughter because you expect your ex to manage your life. YTA. You're ridiculous. You have all the information and get plenty of notice. You're just either too incompetent or unwilling to manage your own schedule. You get the info a month in advance, so write it down on your calendar and set reminders like every other grown-ass adult on Earth does. You are not owed any reminders. Who do you think reminds your ex of the appointments? You're a lazy, uninvolved father. That's why Valerie doesn't want to talk to you anymore. I'm glad her mom is there for her at least. YTA for this alone, she will send an appointment time over a month before the actual date as if I have superhuman memory and will be able to remember. Put it in your phone calendar with a reminder yourself. You're an adult. She never bothers texting me and only uses email or our family wizard when she knows I don't have time to check those every day. Well, good thing she sent it a month in advance so you don't need to check daily then. You realize when you got divorced that means your wife is no longer responsible for holding your hand through life? You're given notice about upcoming appointments and reminders the day before, What more do you expect of her realistically? Get a calendar and write things down. If she only wants to communicate with you through parenting APS and emails, there's a reason. And the reason is usually that you're using your daughter as an excuse to harass her and be toxic. Am I the antagonist for telling my wife I won't be sharing blame with her? When I mess up, it's my fault, and that's fine, I'll own up to that. However, when she messes up, it becomes I think we both could have done things to prevent this. My wife and I are 26, we've been together since we were 15. At a doctor's appointment 2 weeks ago, my wife found out she weighs nearly 240 pounds. She started putting on weight during our senior year of high school, and it's only increased from there. As far as meals at this point, we eat separate meals for the most part, food-wise. We sit down and eat dinner together, but what she has for dinner is different than what I have. So, she comes home from the appointment and launches into this whole thing about we both dropped the ball in terms of her weight. I asked exactly how I dropped the ball. I'm not force-feeding her chips and popcorn and things like that. All I got back was a vague, "You could have said more," which made no sense to me. I told her that I won't be sharing in the blame for this. I'm more than willing to help, but this situation is not my fault. She said I was isolating her and called me an AH. Am I the antagonist? Asked exactly how I dropped the ball. I'm not force-feeding her chips and popcorn and things like that. All I got back was a vague, "You could have said more," right? I'm sure if you had mentioned to her that she was gaining weight, she would have said, "Oh, you're right, thanks for pointing it out, I should change my eating habits." She knew she was gaining weight. NTA. All her choices which led to this were her own, not yours. And she should have known that she's been gaining a significant amount of weight without you telling her. But it's easier to feel better about oneself when you can blame someone else. NTA, how, exactly, were you supposed to say something and not be an asshole? "Hey, honey, I've noticed that you've put on a few pounds. You might want to do something about that." Yeah. Try that tactic out and report back later. Spoiler alert, it will not go well. I feel like even if you had mentioned to her that she should be careful about her weight, she most likely would have been offended and would have taken it as you commenting on her body rather than you being worried about her health. This situation is on her because she decides what she eats, and her weight gain is because of her own decisions. Am I the antagonist for telling my wife she's welcome to leave? I, 37 male, was the fat kid growing up. In my teens, I went through a massive weight loss regimen that left me thin but with crippling disordered eating and body dysmorphia. In recent years, I've realized my problems and have let myself go a bit. Now, I am visibly chubby but strong underneath. I've been with my wife, 35 female, for 10 years. We met at the gym and she was a fitness nut like I was back in the day. We were encouraging each other's eating disorders, and it was pretty bad in that regard until I realized how unhealthy our lifestyle was. While I cut back, she has kept it up. I've been working on getting her help and learning she has issues, but she has insisted that she's fine. However, she has been vocal about disliking the way I look now. She has told me that she wishes I would go back to my old regimen, eat what I used to eat, things like that. I've been polite and explained that we both had eating disorders for years and I am the healthiest and happiest I've ever been, but she just does not see my point. Not to mention how much it hurts when she is basically saying I like you not fat. It has escalated into more explicit fighting lately. Today, when she was picking on my choice of breakfast, I had enough. I told her that I understand if she's no longer attracted to me, as it's obvious that I don't look the same as I did 10 years ago, and that's okay, but it's not okay to pick on my food and exercise choices, and that if she feels this strongly about my lifestyle and my appearance, then she is welcome to leave. She got instantly angry with me, saying that she's just looking out for my health. We fought a bit more until she decided to lock herself in our bedroom. It's been a few hours now and I worry I went too far in basically telling her to leave. Am I the antagonist? NTA, why are you still with someone who doesn't care for your well-being? It's clear that food, or lack of it, and fitness is her top priority, and she's forcing it onto you, and now controlling you. If she loved and cared about you, she would be understanding and respectful. She would also be able to see that you're much happier and healthier in many ways, and she should be happy and proud for you. If she wants to split due to something so insignificant, let her. But don't go back down an unhealthy and dangerous path due to her own issues. Edit, typo. NTA. Your health and well-being is your priority, and she is actively undermining that. You two may not be compatible anymore. Sucks, but that's okay. NTA. Setting boundaries was a really important lesson for me to learn in eating disorder recovery. I would suggest seeking couples counseling to help you both set appropriate boundaries. She may be concerned about your health, but her vision of health is skewed due to diet culture. Also, your mental health is just as important as your physical health. While I don't think you should be diagnosing her with an eating disorder, it doesn't matter. She flat out told you she doesn't like the way you look anymore, and she wants you to go back to the way you were for her. That right there is what makes her an asshole. It seems like you realized that you had a problem, and you are trying to fix your problem. You need to let her realize on her own that she has a problem, if she truly does, and decide to fix it herself. Do not tell her you think she has a problem, it will only make it worse. She absolutely doesn't have the right to tell you how to look or what to eat or how to be healthy. She can be as obsessed as she wants, but she can't tell you to be obsessed with it too. Am I the antagonist for turning down my stepmother's necklace to wear during my wedding? My stepmother, I use the term just for here, but to me she's the woman my dad is married to, has always wanted a daughter. She has 4 boys with my dad. She was Dad's wife to me and my sister. We lost our mom very young, but neither of us were willing to have a second mom. We were both clear about this from the jump. This bothered her, but she decided she would just have babies with Dad and get as many daughters as she could. Then after boy number 4 she was unable to have more, and I remember her telling us she hated us for denying her the opportunity to be a mom to daughters. That we didn't have a mom anymore, and she would have loved us and done everything to be a good mom. Years have gone by since then, and we really don't talk all that much to her, or our dad, for that matter. My sister got married 4 years ago, but only invited me and her husband's family. Now it's my turn, and I did decide to have a slightly bigger wedding, and because of some pressure from extended family, I invited my dad and his family. Stepmother tried to give me her necklace for the wedding. She said it was something the women in her family wear on their wedding day, and they pass it down. She wanted to be able to pass it down, but I said no to it. This upset her, and then the whole extended family heard about it. Now I'm being told since I invited her I should be more willing to accept this, even though I invited them because of the pressure put on me to. They told me I should be willing to treat them like family and be kind and go out of my way for them as such, and it was cruel to turn down a sentimental item. Am I the antagonist? So not the a-hole. She can't suddenly pretend like you are close, and neither can anyone else. If she wants to hand it down, she can hand it to one of the women her sons are marrying, if they marry women. You're not obligated to do anything you don't want to on your wedding day. NTA. Her poor sons. You invited your father and his wife as a courtesy. They do not get to lay claim to traditions in your wedding when they are there as a courtesy. You're doing the right thing by setting this boundary, as, clearly, your father's wife is once again trying to step into the mother role you and your sister have said you were uncomfortable giving her. Familial jewelry is not something to expect from a wedding guest. And that's all she is unless she keeps up this behavior, in which case I suggest you disinvite her. Your wedding is not the time to be trying to keep other people happy at your own expense. NTA. She doesn't get to dictate your wedding jewelry or your relationship. And anyone who doesn't like that boundary need not attend, so tell them exactly that, and that they can kindly STFU. You have invited her as courtesy because she is your father's wife, not to assume the role of mother of the bride. She is simply a guest, and guests do not get to foist their family traditions upon the bride and groom. OP has every right and reason to decline. Also, she can offer the necklace to any daughter-in-law she may have. Am I the antagonist for wanting to stay true to my wife's wishes? I, 28 female, lost my wife M 2 years ago in an accident when our son was less than a year old. Throughout our entire relationship, from ages 20 to 26, she was very open about how her parents did not accept her and that she'd given up on offering an olive branch. She seemed to have made peace with the fact that they weren't around anymore, and my family always embraced her with open arms, so she still had some support regardless. When we had our son, M told me she didn't want her parents to know anything about our child, even through the grapevine. She had let her mom and dad know that we were getting married a few years prior, but they didn't respond very well to the news, so she didn't think they would change their tune. If they did ever manage to hear about our son's birth, they never contacted us to say anything about it. They didn't come to the funeral. I invited them because I thought that maybe they'd want to be there. She was their only child, and I assumed that any animosity they had about how she lived would have been overshadowed by the loss of her in general. I heard nothing from them for 2 years until a few weeks ago when I got a message request on FB from M's mother. She said she and her husband wanted to know more about me and our son, so she invited me to get a cup of coffee since they were in town. I agreed to meet them to talk, but I left my son at home with my sister. They looked a little disappointed when I got there and he wasn't with me, but they didn't say anything about that at first. They started off with a few normal questions: how we met, what M's life was like, what our wedding was like. Then they started asking about when they could spend time with our son because they had a right to as his grandparents. I told them that my wife had made it very clear that she didn't want them to know anything about our baby. I felt like I was already betraying M's wishes by agreeing to meet with them and even showing them pictures of him, so the idea of them meeting him on top of all that was a little too much for me at the time. I said I needed to take a bit to think about whether or not I'd allow that. They both seemed upset about it, and they started to argue with me, so I shut the conversation down and said I'd contact them again when I made my decision. I went home and told my sister what happened, and she said that she understood I wanted to listen to M's wishes, but she's gone now, and it's totally possible that her parents have changed. She felt it would be wrong of me to stop them from having a relationship with their daughter's only child. She also said I was just making it harder on myself by avoiding people who could help me raise my son, since now I'm doing it on my own. I just don't want to betray M. Info: I was the one who gave birth to our son. He's biologically mine. M was emancipated at 17, but she did continue to try and speak with them on and off for a few years up until our wedding. I know that if they had changed, M would have forgiven them because that's just the kind of person she was. I agreed to meet them because I wanted to know if they regretted how they treated her. NTA. Parents that are capable of not showing up at their own daughter's funeral should not be given access to additional children. You would very much be putting your child in danger by introducing these people into his life. This isn't just about your wife's wishes, but about the fact that they are not safe people and have already proven themselves bad with children. The fact that these people already feel they are entitled to some kind of relationship when they had none with their daughter and didn't come to the funeral is all the information you need to make sure they stay out of your life forever. NTA. They didn't come to their own daughter's funeral. Fuck this request. NTA. Please do not let your child near these people. We have a right that right there tells you that they have not changed. You and your son went through something traumatic. They couldn't even show up to the funeral because of their pride. The moment you let them see him, they will try to play games with his head, and it honestly isn't worth it. Don't be surprised that you get served papers when they get desperate, but a judge will probably laugh at them unless you are unfit. Stick to honoring your wife. They had many chances and threw those away. Am I the antagonist for yelling at my mother because she straightened my daughter's hair? Throwaway account. I'll try to keep it brief. I, F35, am married to my husband, M36. For context, we are a mixed-race couple. I am white, and my husband is black. We have a daughter, 9 female, Chloe. Before I had Chloe, I ensured to learn as much as I could about how to take care of and style afro/coily hair to prepare. Chloe, as we expected, has very thick, curly hair. Her hair type is 3C. My mother, 56 female, occasionally has Chloe over for the day. Chloe really enjoys spending time with her grandmother, and it's nice for them to have a bond. Here's where I might be the AH. 2 weeks ago, my mother kindly offered to have Chloe over for a weekend sleepover as my husband was sick with the flu and I needed to attend my friend's funeral, which was out of town. This took a lot of pressure off of us, and we were very grateful. However, when I went on the Sunday to go collect Chloe, I was absolutely shocked. My mother had used a chemical relaxer on Chloe's hair to straighten it. My mother never mentioned this to me nor asked for my permission. I asked my mother why on earth she thought this was appropriate, to which she replied that Chloe looks better with her hair straight. I didn't want to have an outburst in front of my young daughter, so I said nothing and drove her home. I asked Chloe if she liked her hair, to which she said yes, and happily said her hair looks like Rapunzel's. Although I'm happy Chloe seems to like it, it is very evident that her hair is extremely damaged, and I'm worried that it could fall out, as it is already thinning a lot. We live in a rural area, so we would need to travel to get to any hairdresser who can deal with Chloe's hair type. Later that day, when Chloe couldn't hear me, I rang my mother and yelled at her and told her that what she did was unacceptable and that she won't be allowed to babysit Chloe again. My mother got extremely defensive and said that Chloe's hair looked like it could have done with a change and told me that I'm being a snowflake. I hung up the phone because I was so angry. My husband thinks that my mother is in the wrong and that I was right to tell her she won't be allowed to babysit again. However, my friends and siblings think that I am overreacting and that it's just hair and Chloe likes her new look, so I shouldn't be mad. So Reddit, am I the antagonist? NTA. What on earth was she thinking? You never touch someone else's child's hair without the parent's permission. Not to mention, curly hair is beautiful. There is nothing wrong with her hair as it is. Even, for example, if your daughter had mentioned that she'd love to try to have her hair straightened, she should have called you first and asked your permission. And if she couldn't get you on THR phone? Keep her hands off. That was not her place. NTA. I had my hair ruined this way as a child. I wasn't as lucky as Chloe, though. I woke up the next day with all my hair on the pillow instead of my head. After that, my hair was kept short since it was too much trouble. God bless you for actually caring about your daughter's hair and guarding her against the microaggressions that will come along with her ethnicity. I still struggle with feeling like I belong in my family, and I haven't been in a hair salon in close to 30 years. It matters. NTA. 1. Your mom knew you wouldn't approve, that's why she never asked permission. 2. Her hair could use a change. She's not the parent, not her call to make. 3. She obviously convinced your daughter to like straight hair by using an unrealistic Disney character. Manipulation. 4. Even if you and your husband were cool with your daughter straightening her hair, that should have been done by a professional that knows how to do it properly with minimal damage and with your approval. It's not just hair. Lots of people take great pride in their hair and it's part of their identity. It's also very easily damaged. But there are bigger issues here, body positivity and covert racism, that will only become bigger issues as your daughter gets older. And while all that's super important to your kid's developing identity, it's also not okay for her to think she can make parental decisions for your daughter. What on earth was she thinking? You never touch someone else's child's hair without the parent's permission. Not to mention, curly hair is beautiful. There is nothing wrong with her hair as it is. Even, for example, if your daughter had mentioned that she'd love to try to have her hair straightened, she should have called you first and asked your permission. And if she couldn't get you on THR phone? Keep her hands off. That was not her place.